Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the co-founder of Digital Leadership Associates. I'm also the author of the book, Social Selling, Techniques to Influence Buyers and Change Makers. Today, I've got with me Mark Hunter. Mark, I'm so excited to have you with me today. Mark is the author of the book, High Profit Prospecting. If you've not got a copy of it, and you're into, if you're into sales, you should be prospecting. And if you're into sales, you need to get a copy of this book, because it's one of those things where I sat down and read it and thought, yeah, this is what we need to be doing. Mark, just before we get started and I start talking to you, explain to everybody where you are, where they can find you, where they can connect with you, what your coordinates are.
Yes, well, the best way is through the website, thesaleshunter.com. And yeah, I reside in the United States, right in the middle of the United States, west of Chicago, in this little place called Omaha, Nebraska. And sales wasn't my first love. I only got into sales because I couldn't afford auto insurance. So I had to get a job that supplied me with a car. That's how I wound up in sales.
Oh, wow. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I got 3 speeding tickets my last semester of college. And I suddenly found myself where I couldn't afford auto insurance. So I wound up having to get a job where they didn't do a background check, that they supplied me with a car. That's how I wound up in sales.
Right.
It's worked out.
And you've been in sales for a number of years. And one of the things that came across about for me in terms of the book, and I've actually bookmarked a couple of things as well, was it's about, for me, it was about getting back to basics, that we should all be prospecting.
Yeah, we're all prospecting, because think about it. What are we trying to do? We're trying to help people. Sales is about helping people. And how can you not help people unless you're prospecting with them? So you do have to prospect. Prospecting is not a dirty word. It's not a dirty word at all. It really is getting to know other people so you can help them.
And I know that you say in your book, and I totally agree with you, that you need to, in a way, block out time in your diary and say this day or this half a day, because, and I know the temptation is always to say, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to do something else. Because I always thought that prospecting was a bit like revision for exams, that that you got to do it, but you kind of don't, or you find it difficult. So you try and find lots of things to do rather than actually prospecting. But it's something that is key or core to a salesperson, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You can tell the success of a salesperson by looking at their diary. And I firmly believe, because if you don't put it in your diary, you'll think up every excuse as to why you need to do something else. Prospecting really needs to be like taking a shower or taking a bath. It's something you kind of do every day. I mean, it's just really good.
Yes.
People around you will appreciate it if you do.
And I think you also need to get to, selling. You say in the book is that when you prospect, you're going to get rejection. And that's actually part of the job.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with rejection. I look at it this way. A rejection is nothing more than a moment in time, and it will pass. It will pass. And then you move on to the next person, and you move on. And that person that rejects you today may very well come back and buy from you tomorrow or next week or next month. And if they don't, hey, so what? That's okay. Your ability, your job is really focused on those who will respond to you.
My view is often in terms of those rejections, quite often if they've listened to what you said, they've actually taken it and they stored it. They may actually meet somebody and go, you need to talk to Tim because of this particular problem. So that rejection, all you're doing is you're going out and you're spreading the message. It's kind of like missionary work. You're going out and spreading the message of what you sell or what you're passionate about. Yeah. And that creates more people having discussions and conversations about what you do.
Yeah. My definition of sales is helping others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. Now think about that for a moment. If I want to help you see and achieve what you didn't think was possible, that means I probably got to interrupt you somehow. I got to get your attention somehow, because you probably didn't wake up in the morning and saying, gee, I can do this. It's not till I come and I approach you and I get into your life in some way that you begin to see, oh, he or she can help me get to a different level. That's what sales is all about.
Yeah, and that leads me on to in the book about you talk about let's pick the cold calling situation, because you actually have this on page 80. It's basically, you say cold calling versus informed calling. Now, talk us through that and what you mean by that.
Yeah, really, there's so much information on the World Wide Web. It's why it's called the World Wide Web, that it really is almost impossible not to know something about somebody who you're about to call. So, you use the word cold call. Oh, that just creates all this scare. It creates quite a stigma. So what I want to do is I want to change it to informed calling, because now what I've done is I've done just a little bit of research. I may not know you personally, but I may know a little bit about your company or about your industry. And all I do is I use that as my springboard to be able to have a conversation with you. To me, that's informed calling. Nothing wrong with it.
And that's really about looking at the website or looking them up on social media, or getting some view about what that person is like.
Yeah,
rather than just picking up the phone and going.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long. I mean, you can, in 30 seconds, you can get all the research, because that's the other problem. People will sit there and spend all day preparing to make a phone call that they never make. Thinking about prospecting is not prospecting. Gee, that's a novel idea. You got to make the call. You got to call.
I mean, I generally sort of like, if I'm cold calling, I end up with a stiff neck, because I've usually got the phone here. And I'm usually sort of typing at the same time as I'm like dialing the phone or whatever. And actually that time where it actually connects, maybe I grew up in the days when it took a long time to actually dial through, but you could usually get a good view on an individual before you actually made that call.
Yeah.
There's something else as well. And you probably, I don't know whether you know them all off by heart, but you talk about the 7 strategic questions regarding your prospecting process.
Yeah,
do you know them off by heart?
Mark? No, I do not know them by heart. So you're calling me out here. I apologize. I haven't had enough coffee. Or
don't worry. If you have my book and you were quoting me from my book, I wouldn't be able to remember either. So
the whole thing is what are you doing to engage? Because this is the other thing. Cold calling. Informed calling is not a one-way conversation. It's a dialogue.
Yeah.
What I want to do is I want to have those questions that get you speaking. Because my goal is to get you to say great question. Because when I get you to say great question, wow, then we've got a dialogue going. I love that. I love it.
And I think that's the great thing about informed calling, isn't it? That it's, and the best people that I see is the way that, because you've got to get over a subject matter very, very quickly, but also you've got to do that. You've got to make that switch, the switch between it's the other person that's doing the talking and not just sitting there going, I'm in the middle of something, and it's getting them to engage and getting them to engage quickly.
Yeah, that is the. I mean, how many times have you picked up the phone and it's a salesperson? Because it's wah, 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 wah. I want to lead off with a question. And, that gets me to dialogue. You really have to think about what is the objective of that phone call. My objective is to earn the right, the privilege, honor, and respect to be able to talk with you again, to have that next conversation. Because unless I'm in a really short sales cycle, really simple, it's probably a 2, 3, or 4 call process. So this initial call is really just to gain the appointment call when I can really do the dialogue. So what am I doing? I'm just setting the table. That's all I'm doing, is setting the table, learning a piece of information, getting the reason to have another discussion with you. And I can't do that unless I'm asking questions.
I think that's important about earning the right. And I agree with you, certainly in the area of B2B enterprise, which I work in. We're mainly trying to get a meeting rather than necessarily trying to actually close something over the phone, which is I think is a skill in itself. But trying to get
completely different process,
but trying to earn the right and show that you have the, as you say, trying to build that trust and that rapport with the person. And rapport is a bit of a very wide cliche that tends to be used quite a lot, but it's having that empathy with that person pretty much within a couple of seconds.
Right. Yeah. You know what? One of the interesting things that I love about sales is that when I'm dialoguing with you, my whole objective is just to get that one new piece of information. And what I'll always say is, I'm going to use that one piece of information as the lead off for my next call. Because now what have I done? I've told you, wow, that salesperson actually remembered. That salesperson remembered something I told them. And it connects the two calls. And that's that, continues on that whole earning the right to have that next phone call. That's how you earn the right.
And would you say therefore that listening or active listening or however you want to call it is important for a salesperson, because you are in a way that if you're going to connect that nugget of information, you've got to not only got to hear it, but you've got to store it as well.
Yeah, we could go on for hours about the problem people have with listening, salespeople in particular. Because why? Because they got this script, they got these questions. I got to ask. Oh, shut up! I mean, just listen. Just listen, please.
I've been on a number of calls where or they've got the PowerPoint. It's like, I'm going to tell you this PowerPoint and I'm going to tell you this stuff, and the person's trying to. Or I've been on calls where I asked the prospect a question and the salesperson answers. And it's like, no. I need the prospect to tell me the answer because I'm asking, it's not, I'm asking them about their business. I remember talking to an organization and I knew the problem was that they had too much inventory. But I needed the prospect to tell me, because what I wanted them to do was actually explain to me the amount of pain that they were in around how much inventory they had. And I'd say, so do you have a lot of inventory? And the salesman said, well, that's a stupid question. Of course they have. It's like, hold on a minute. I need the person because I'm trying to get them to open up.
But, that in and of itself is the art of asking the right question, because so many times salespeople ask these really stupid leading questions, and that person on the other end of the telly goes, this is a really stupid question. Yeah. And so it really comes down to, what are we having here? We're having a conversation. That's what the best sales presentation ever made is the one never given, because all it is a conversation between two people. And I always say the best pieces of information are not until I peel the onion a few layers. In other words, I may ask you a question, you respond, and then I ask you another question on that, and I ask you, and it's that second, that third, that fourth piece of information. That's when I really begin to get some really good information, some good insights. And for you, you're like, wow, this is amazing. This person's listening to me.
Is that where when I'm so if I say to you, hi Mark, how you doing? You'll say, oh yeah, I'm great. And everybody does that. It's a common response. And then if I say, come on, Mark, how are you really doing? I say, well, I'm only on my first cup of coffee. So, I'm doing okay, but I'm kind of getting there. And then you go, come on, Mark, come on, really. And it's about getting through some of those barriers, as you say, peeling the onion, to actually say, come on, Mark, level with me. How are you feeling today? And is that what you're talking about in trying to break down those?
It is. It is really getting down deeper, because think about this. People don't reveal their true needs. And if you think about it, what are salespeople about? Helping you to solve your needs. They're not going to share with you their real needs unless there's a fear of death, and then they're going to tell it to anybody. But chances are that's not what your phone call's about. So really, they're not going to share those needs until they have a level of trust with you. And how do you get that level of trust? You get that level of trust by them being comfortable that you're listening, you appreciate, you value, you accept who they are. That's how you create that level of trust. Then when you get that level of trust, then they're going to really begin to share. And that's really what customers are looking for. Help me solve my needs. Help me solve my needs. Which goes back to the original definition. You have a need, and I'm going to help you see and achieve what you didn't think was possible. It's perfect.
And I with informed calling, there's a lot of people sitting there and they don't know that they have a particular problem. And it's about, is there a way, Is there a way, do you think, in terms of the type of questions that you need to be asking, that or way that you need to be doing it? I interviewed Daniel Disney. He's a UK guy, and he's a great believer in using humor in his work. Is there a way or an attitude or a view that you think that salespeople should be using?
Yeah, I love Daniel's approach, using humor, because what I say is that's one element of your personality. First of all, you got to let your personality come through. People, it's not B2B, it's not B2B sales or B2C sales. It's H to H, human to human, or as somebody said, B2B, belly to belly. But it really is two people talking to one another. Now, the way I'm going to do it is I many times will start off my cold informed call by merely asking you a question about the industry in general that you're in, the business, the bigger piece to get your opinion, to get your input. And then that's going to help drive me down further, because what I found is if I can engage you in not a softball question in terms of how's the weather or how are you doing, those are stupid, but a business directed question that gets you speaking. Now you're thinking of me that not as a salesperson, but you're thinking of me as a peer. And again, when you see me as a peer, again, it helps create that level of trust that much faster.
And I think, one of the things that came out about your book was about qualification as well. And when you're on the phone, also to get off it.
Yeah,
you've seen these people with these scripts where they go through, and I'm sure the script is at the bottom right hand corner is a yes, and it's like no, you won't even get me down, because I've already got a broadband and I'm happy with it, and you're not going to sell me another one, so don't take me down this. Don't take me. And I know that Jill Conrath says that's manipulation, and I agree with her. If you're going to ring people and you're going to talk to them, you need to be qualifying up front whether you think that you're going to actually get those steps down, rather than just forcing the way down it. What's your view?
Yeah, well, that is, see, what I want to do is I want to put the tough questions out there quickly, because I'm kind of a radical when it comes to prospecting. I want to qualify fast, because I really don't want a lot of prospects. Whoa, what did I just say? Yeah, I don't want to, because here's the thing. So many people have so many prospects that they really don't know what they're dealing with. And well, that person returned my phone call, or I got this meeting set up. Well, that just means that person has a heartbeat. My dog has a heartbeat, but my dog is never going to buy from me. You see, what I want to do is I want to have fewer prospects that I can spend more time with. And what happens then? I can actually speed them through the funnel. When I can take you and qualify you quickly and understand your needs quickly and bring you through to the close faster, I'm actually bringing more value to you. And you know what I'm doing? I'm simplifying my own. I'm simplifying my own sales process, which is allowing me to use my time more efficiently. Which, at the end of the day, is the most critical asset I have is my time. It's not what I sell. It's not my price. It's not my customers. It's my time.
Yeah, and we only have 200 or something days in the year, and we've all been in situations where 3 months go by, and you go, "Where did that go?"
Oh,
exactly. I've now only got 9 months to do my number. What am I going to do? And every day is just so important, and it soon goes. And I think sometimes we spend too much time thinking. I know I've worked with salespeople where they want to have 100, 200, 1,000 accounts. It's like, well, how are you going to manage that?
You can't. And so many times that's driven because of sales managers. Sales managers, because that's what they look at. Or are you following the script? Are you following? We get bad sales behavior because of bad sales managers. Ooh, don't get me going on that one. But I'll tell you what. This whole thing of you don't have enough in your funnel. You don't have enough in your funnel. Look, it's not what I have in my funnel. It's the quality of what I have in my funnel. I don't care what I put in at the top. It's all about what comes out the bottom. That's really all I care about.
Yeah, I've seen people, we've all seen it where people have basically stuffed their pipeline with names just because they are being told that they need to have lots in the pipeline.
Because what they're doing is they're not managing their business, they're managing their boss. Because what they're doing is they're saying, if I just keep this full pipeline, I just have a lot of stuff in my funnel, my boss won't bug me. And yeah, that's really going to make you successful.
So I mean, I'm a great believer in, you got to, let's look at your pipeline. Okay, so which ones can we win? Right. Well, let's forget everything else, and let's just focus in on the stuff that we can win. And even if it means that we have to win one or two, let's just make sure that we win those, rather than saying we need, if you need to have lots of things, we'll go and buy a lottery ticket.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, and I say this a lot. There's a lot of people who would be better off just buying lottery tickets than trying to work their sales funnel, because the sales funnel, the leads they're putting in at the top, zero chance of them coming out. I saw a sales funnel the other day. This person shared with me their chart, and some of these had not moved in 6 months.
Right.
Well, they're thinking about it. They're waiting for the budget. Oh, come on, no. Look, they ain't gonna buy. Okay, get them out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's. I remember this guy running the forecast on a spreadsheet. And we used to joke about this particular company. It had been in there so long. We used to joke that there was actually a bug in Excel that it didn't matter how much you actually deleted it out, it just kept coming back again.
I like that. I won't
name the company, but I mean, they were well known for being tar kickers, and it was just like, look, you're not going to sell to them. They're not going to buy anything. Just get rid of it.
Right. Yep.
So what if you're new into sales, what advice would you give to people that were new into sales that are listening into this, that want some, that they know that they need to prospect, and what advice would you give them?
Well, there's two big things that I'll say right out of the chute. First of all, prospecting has to be part of your sales culture. So what does that do? In your diary, you've got to mark your prospecting time. You got to mark your prospecting blocks. 2, you need at least 2 or 3 high-level sales peers that can be your mentors, that you can associate with, you can hang with. Now, you may not be able to find these people in person, be able to meet with them for tea or coffee or whatever, but you could at least follow them religiously on the internet, because really what you want to do is you want to emulate those other superstar people out there. And then those are the 2 things I always tell new salespeople. And really what it comes down to is this. It's not the success that you're going to have today. It's the platform you're building to allow you to have success tomorrow. It will come. It will come.
Right. And you say in the book about having that, it's so important for organizations. It's so important for organizations to have a prospecting culture. It builds out from each salesperson needs to understand that they need to be prospecting, and the organization that needs to be prospecting. And I think you tell the story about, the classic, the pipe, that goes a couple of quarters and the pipeline dips, and we have a cold calling day, and it goes back up again, and then it dips again, and we have a cold calling day, and we go from feast to famine, and
Yeah, I see companies doing that all the time. And you know what it comes down to? It's because the sales management doesn't believe in prospecting themselves. This is funny, but I love asking sales managers this question. When do you spend your time in the field? And if they sit there and say, well, I always spend at the end of the quarter to help my people close deals, I go, you are a lousy, I don't tell it. Oh, sometimes I tell it. You're a lousy sales manager. Your objective is to be out there at the first of the year, the first of the quarter, really helping uncover incremental opportunities. That's where your expertise comes in, because you as a sales manager can ask questions that your salespeople can't. You as a sales manager can get meetings that your salespeople can't. You as a sales manager have insights on things that your salespeople just don't. I measure the effectiveness of a sales manager by how many incremental opportunities are they able to give to their people, not on their ability to close deals. Because if they're having to close deals, they got something wrong with their salespeople.
So it's about them incremental in terms of they're out there, they're finding opportunities, and in effect, like a ball, they're passing them on to the salespeople.
Right. That to me. And what does that do? That gets salespeople then saying, hey, I like you as a sales manager. Because if all you do is come in and close deals for me, you talk about demotivating salespeople. And what do customers think? Oh, I see. The salesperson really isn't the salesperson. They're just the cab driver. No, sorry.
Yeah, salespeople should be able to do their own closing. And I've always, if you've been in that situation where if you go into meetings as a salesperson, you've got your sales manager or director with you, all of a sudden the customer starts talking to them because they're the senior person, and this relationship that you've built up, and then they'll disappear again, and then you've got to build up the relationship again.
I had a sales manager like that one time, and I'll tell you what, I hated him. Because then of course he was always the one to take credit. Oh, he closed this. I closed this deal. It's like, look, you village idiot. I'm the one that did all the work. I quit the company. That's what happened. I wanted to quit that company.
Well, I think lots of people end up doing that because what I've seen certainly with sales managers, that at least if they came in and closed a deal, at least they didn't then take the credit for it as well. At least they would say, oh yeah, Tim did, which would be nice. Yeah. So Mark, we're now done about 20 minutes, which is, so time's up. Is there anything finally that you want to say to people or expertise you want to pass over to our audience?
Well, yes. I mean, I'll reiterate again, sales is all about helping others see and achieve what they didn't think was possible. And to me, I think sales is the most fantastic profession. And hey, I want you to reach out to me, grab me. That's the book. High Profit. Yes. I couldn't get a bigger book, but hey,
that's it there. Look,
there you go. Yeah. And of course, the website is, well, let's see, it's the Sales Hunter, and Hunter is my last name. I did not change it for this job. So you know what? I thank my dad for that. But yeah, no,
it's amazing how you ended up with a great nickname as a sales hunter, as Mark Hunter.
And so a lot of research went into the name of the company. It worked.
Mark, thank you very much for coming on today, and I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you. Goodbye.